Hello everyone, it's Dante here, and today I want to do something I've never done before, so I'm really excited and a little bit nervous as I've been focused on all of these numbers and dates and astrological things that kind of blows my own mind, but I think I can get it to you in a really manageable way. So I wanted to look at this year that we're in, 2020, on many esoteric levels and combine the different systems that I work with, Western astrology and a bit of Mayan astrology, galactic Mayan astrology, and the gene keys, which we're going to probably explore mostly today with the gene keys. Um, and so all of these systems work a bit differently, and I don't have the time to explain how all of them are calculated today. But the gene keys works with the original 64 Chinese hexagrams of the I Ching and expands upon them, and it came through in a channeling initially based on the human design system. And all of these hexagrams correlate with a specific part of the astrological wheel. So what's most significant about 2020 is really this last decan of Capricorn has a lot of planets in it, and those planets will all go retrograde, and Uranus will go retrograde. We're going to have big retrograde phase throughout this year in that last decan of Capricorn until finally they complete it. And the last decan of Capricorn is very much a very structured and organized. Capricorn itself is the mountain goat that climbs to the top of the mountain. It's very practical, kind of detached. And Capricorn rules financial systems, structures, work, career, and every astrological sign is split into three decans. And the decans correspond to other signs of the same element. So the last decan of Capricorn corresponds with Virgo, which is all about organizing things, putting things together, also about work, about health and wellness. So when we have all of these planets in the last decan of Capricorn making that connection with Virgo, it's very aligned that there is a health epidemic, a pandemic occurring at the exact same time. And with all of these big planets going through Capricorn as well, it's clear that there is a reset on the systems that are put in place, the financial systems that keep us all kind of enslaved. So the stars all point to this. And Virgo is also ruled by Mercury, which has to do with the analytical mind, attempting to organize and structure everything. And as we're going to see as we explore the gene keys that are associated with these degrees of the signs of Capricorn, that can be really problematic. But there is a mystical answer that allows for us to find huge amounts of creative energy that lead us to rapid awakening and transformation. And that's what I'm most excited to be talking about today. I'm also going to be talking about many of the different themes that we're going to see through the outer planets, going through different gene keys, and what that unlocks and what that brings to the psyche. So most specifically today, I have a lot of notes. We're going to be talking about the gene keys 61, which is the shadow of psychosis, the gift of inspiration, and the city, the magic power of sanctity. And later the planets, after they pass through this one, move into gene key 60, which is the shadow of limitation, the gift of realism, and the city of justice. Justice. And I guess I forgot because the justice that they speak to as the city is very different than the human concept of justice. So happy to explore that. And yeah, so right now, all of the are Jupiter and Pluto are in this gene key 61 with the shadow of psychosis and the gift of inspiration. And this is the first thing I want to talk about, and the other things are going to be added on little details. And just a plug-in so that we can connect to the Mayan systems as well as this comes up. The traditional Mayan calendar, their new year begins sometime in February or January or even March, depending on the year. I believe usually it's in February. Anyway, this year it's the year 8 Noch, and Noch is also, so we're talking about things related to the mind, the intellect. With the city, Noch is about the mind, the mental body, the scholar. Though it's also about the earth. It's the Nawal of the earth. And interestingly enough, both Noch and the 61st gene key are associated with the pineal gland. And this is the gland of great awakening, most often associated with the third eye chakra, sometimes associated with the crown chakra, though the pineal and the pituitary gland are intimately interwoven in their function. So the function of one affects the other, and I almost see them as intertwined. Anyway, pineal gland, you can also consider the crown chakra, and the coronavirus is an opening of the crown chakra. It's opening us to see that the mind itself always will create psychosis, and there is a solution to it, and it is in a way the end of asking questions, the end of looking for an answer out there. So there's that mind correlation. And in the end of 2020, both Jupiter and Saturn will meet in 1 degree Aquarius right after eclipse that is in the Capricorn. The eclipse is in the Sagittarius, Gemini axis, right? But I think just in Sagittarius, right? Because it's a solar eclipse. I might be wrong. I have to look that up again. Gosh. I'm almost certain in Sagittarius. Anyway, they meet in that 1 degree of Aquarius, and for me and for many, this symbolizes the beginning of the Aquarian Age, which is an egalitarian age, meaning equality for all, an innovative age where we go beyond the old structures and we see things from new perspectives, and we favor individuality, and simultaneously we favor serving everyone in the group. And we're finally getting to those times on the planet, and it's super exciting. So what was I saying about that? So they're meeting in that 1 degree Aquarius, which is the gift of realism. And we'll talk about realism after we go through the psychosis and the inspiration, because that's a necessary first step in getting there. There was something else I wanted to say about that time, though. But yeah, it's the beginning, right, of an entire new era to move into the age of Aquarius. And in the galactic Mayan calendar, we began a 13-year cycle in July of 2019. So we entered the wizard wave spell of 13 years. We're in the white magnetic wizard wave spell, and wizard is all about being receptive. So wizard, we often think of a wizard as someone who makes things happen, but how they're able to do that is they're able to rest into receptivity, waiting for the right moment, waiting for the signs, waiting for the clues. And that's all something we have to tap into this year. Wizard is actually a great feminine power in the system. And the magnetic tone is about setting our intentions for a cycle. So this is a year where everything is changing, and what we do with our energy is what sets us up for actually 13 years of powerful transformation and things happening in our lives and in the world. So it all ties in. Pretty crazy stuff. So let's explore this psychosis. And I'm going to be reading a lot from the book and adding things onto it because I just highlighted the great parts of it. This book is The Gene Keys by Richard Rudd. Here it is, very shiny. So Psychosis, I'm going to speak my bit about it first. Psychosis is when we are desperate for a reason why, when we are desperately searching for an answer to our question. And this is the state that most people are in right now. When I look on social media, it's like everyone wants to get their answer about what is causing the coronavirus. What am I going to do? Why is all of this information out there? Is there a bigger purpose to these martial law enforcements around the world? Is there hidden agendas here? And likely yes. I'll talk about that elsewhere. But, you know, the truth is all of this searching for the right answer creates a great unrest in the mind. And in that unrest, we find ourselves totally distracted from the greater purpose of things. We find ourselves, not able to really hold the frequency we're supposed to hold because we're so convinced that we need to find out there what is actually happening, when the truth is we don't. And I'm going to explore that with the bits that I've highlighted. So again, this is corresponding with the pineal gland. And so perhaps the hallmark is that the individual is so affected is usually unaware of their affliction, talking about psychosis. So somebody who is psychotic doesn't know they're psychotic. They aren't aware of what's going on. And that's kind of a lot of people, I say, oh, you're in a state of fear, this is a fear-demic, have no awareness that this fear is optional. Anyway, at the risk of shocking the psychological community, or indeed the wider community, psychosis is in fact the ordinary state of the mass consciousness of humanity in the world today. Whew. However, the mind as we know it today is sick, and it is sick for one reason alone, because it seeks itself. Through the narrow gate of the 61st gene key, the great question permeates the world of human beings, the question of why. The pressure from the 61st shadow is neurologically and chemically routed directly into the human intellect, which in turn turns that pressure into a question in the first place. Our minds will continually drive us, unconsciously or unconsciously, to seek an answer to the question, or to try to find release from the pressure behind the question. Even those sensitive people who do become aware and can see an inevitable human slide into self-destruction are caught within the dilemma. The dilemma is that you cannot fix the psychosis from within the psychosis. The ancient civilizations called this perceptive cloak thrown over the world the Maya, the great illusion. The moment you worship another, you set yourself below them in a victim position. You guarantee that your frequency will remain at that low level and be severely impaired. You need to understand the difference here between worship and devotion. Devotion contains the seed of individual dissolution, whereas worship requires a basic duality between you and your God. In order for this delicate shattering process to occur safely, a person must pass through an organic preparatory phase, period, in which the hold of the human intellect and its false reality is progressively loosened. Okay, so that's a bit about the shadow of psychosis, and you can probably recognize a lot of the ways people are acting through this shadow of psychosis. Maybe if I put my computer here and the brightness of it will... It's a little bit... It's fine. You don't need high video quality, right? It's just a little bit shaky in the dark. We have to go through the darkness to emerge into the light. Anyway, so this is the preparatory phase of shattering, and also the gift of realism, as we're going to see, is about shaking loose our attachment to the patterns that uphold our thought process, the ways that we are stuck in the same routine, that we're conforming to the way that we think things have to be done rather than opening ourselves and innovating into something new. So the repressive nature, that was helpful, of the 61st shadow is disenchanted, and the reactive nature is fanatical. So you can see probably a lot of people are in one or two, or both, vacillating between these states, or in one of them. And people are disenchanted, wondering what's going on, or people are fanatical about their conspiracy theory being the most accurate, or fanatical about making sure that social distancing and all of this stays in place, right? All of this is really in our face. And, you know, we don't know how long this is going to go on, and I really hope that it doesn't go on for the entire year. But Pluto is in this gene key towards the end of the year, and Saturn has left it, but in retrograde we'll go back through it, and Jupiter is still in it and will go through it again in retrograde, and also then in its direct phase go through it a final time. So we have a lot of this coming up. So whether it's the coronavirus now or something different later, you may see these tendencies coming up in people. But there's a solution, and the solution is inspiration, right? Inspiration is what happens when you stop worshiping God and start becoming God. Despite its wonderful creative manifestations of the world, inspiration involves a powerful dismantling of the inner realities that have been built by your mind. The path of inspiration often begins as an outer quest as you seek answers from the outside world through systems, teachers, or disciplines. What separates inspiration from other heightened experiences is that after inspiration you are permanently altered. Even a brief flash of true inspiration will change the way your awareness operates. Through inspiration you are being prepared for an even greater experience than you can yet conceive. The path through the 61st gift is necessarily a very creative path, since true inspiration destroys some aspect of your inner delusion, thus releasing a great surge of trapped energy into your body and life. Such energy naturally seeks an outlet through creativity. Creativity is the single most important gift for drawing humanity out of its mass psychosis. It unlocks the latent forces of inspiration inside you, pulling you away from the state of victimization. The main one of human beings is patience. Main challenge of human beings. Inspiration cannot be forced or predicted, but it comes when it comes and stays for as long as it stays. In between these heightened inspirational states, you may well become dejected or depressed. By its very nature, the gift of inspiration is spiritual because it serves to loosen the hold of your mental constructs, opening and expanding your capacity for love. One of the hallmarks of the 61st gift in action is its originality of its expression and its seeming endless stream of its activity into the world. Deep within the person, in the midst of such a process, something extraordinary is occurring. Their hold on reality as they know it is slipping. Those who can continually release the definitions of their reality do begin to enter a more rarefied realm. They enter a stream of consciousness in which inspiration begins to annihilate their lower mind. Deep inside your body, the pressure of the mystery of your being beats in the heart of every single molecule of your living DNA. The mystery is the mystery of Christ consciousness, the quintessence of inner light that holds all things together. So this inspiration is about uncontrolled creativity, uncontrolled to the point that you're not even attached to whether the creativity is flowing or not. You are just in your state of passion. And in inspiration, you're not looking for a particular answer. You're looking for ways that you can allow that creative energy to manifest. And those people that I'm seeing thrive in these times are people that are creatively awakening. They're letting their creativity shine. They're being inspired to spend a lot of time in nature, to connect with others, and to keep shining their light out there. And this is going to be really necessary for things to grow, progress, and it leads to sanctity. And this is, so it actually says right here that for humanity in its current phase of evolution, the 65th city can only cause infuriation. So sanctity is something that is beyond, totally beyond the seeking for answers that we are used to. And in sanctity, you become the answer itself. You no longer ask a question. You simply rest as the answer to the unasked question. So I'm just going to read a couple of highlights from this sanctity. Sooner or later, however, inspiration comes to an end. The process exhausts itself as it throws out all of the mythic identities contained within your DNA. As you enter the field of the 61st city, a huge pregnant silence descends and all of your mental activity abruptly ceases. The 65th city is neither a place nor a stay. It is the inner experience of sanctity, of being one with the divine. Within the city, true reality dawns. The pressure that creates humanity's mass psychosis is no longer routed directly into the human brain, but is refused and rerouted through the solar plexus system. Once the pressure of awareness is removed from the brain, the question of why finally ceases, and all other questions emerging from it, such as how and who, also die. It is through the constantly vibrating wave frequencies emerging from the solar plexus that awareness is carried beyond the body into every corner of the universe. You immediately find yourself both completely empty and endlessly full. What really has to occur is a deep understanding of inside you that you are asleep, and this understanding can be greatly facilitated by a mirror. However, to remain with that mirror frequently leads to worship of the mirror, which prevents you from your own realization. The 65th city is about living life without answers. It is about simply becoming the mystery of who you are. Only when all answers finally fall away does inner truth dawn. There is no attitude you can adopt in response to the mystery, since all such things are subtle attempts at solving it. You simply must come to realize that you know absolutely nothing, and this profound revelation can only occur in its own way and in its own time. So, sanctity is the realization that you know nothing, and your ability to accept that and allow that to bring you inside of yourself, bring you deeper and deeper inside of yourself. And this is something that is going to emerge within us, and it may take some time. However, it is something natural. And really, the gift that we're seeing here is to not endlessly seek for these answers and to let it all come. And so this also ties in, we have Chiron in Aries right now. And Chiron in Aries, the last time this happened was in the counterculture revolution of the late 60s. The first original hippies that really pushed for ending Vietnam War, bringing in all of these new aspects of culture, freedom. And the new counterculture is being birthed with Aries. Chiron again in Aries. And Chiron is about where we feel wounded. And really, the wound is about how we are allowed to express ourselves and feeling this constriction on all these forms of self-expression. So the shadow of this gene key that Aries is in right now is opinion. And I'm finding even the most enlightened, beautiful beings on social media now being so attached to their opinion and almost wanting to unfriend anyone who disagrees with them. And the way that this opinion transforms is into farsightedness, the ability to look to bigger outcomes, to look beyond. So this ties in very well with this sanctity and this inspiration, because it's going beyond your limited view of what you think is right and your limited view of what you think is happening into a surrender to, you don't really know. None of us really know. We know nada, like less than 1% of everything that is. So by accepting that, by accepting the lack of what you know, you can really start to allow for these greater messages to come through from the universe and the world around you. And this 61st and the 60th gene key, which we're moving into, are with the ring of Gaia. Again, this ties in really well with the Noch being the year bearer this year, because the Noch is about the earth So we're tapping into the consciousness of the earth. And when we stop seeking, we feel ourselves as part of the earth, as part of the whole environment around us. And all of those subtle currents of energy that are always being communicated to us from the vibrations of nature, from the sounds of the birds, from looking at the trees, are allowed to enter and penetrate deeper. Hello, everybody. It's bright again. Yes, yesterday when I tried to adjust the lighting, the whole thing kind of didn't work anymore because it started to rain, and with a metal roof, the rain's really loud. So I just want to summarize all of this again and kind of continue on talking about the other gene key and some more exciting stuff in a separate video altogether. Though summarizing again this city of sanctity, the pathway of inspiration, it is in stopping the search for answers and becoming the answer. Instead of looking outside for somebody to tell you what to do, what to think, or what's really happening, it's turning your awareness within. And this has a lot to do with the shift happening for all of us, is the awareness turns within and we awaken a greater knowing. So some bigger thing that's happening is our awareness is getting rerouted to this solar plexus system rather than kind of living from our brains. This awakens actually the higher capacity of our brain because we start to perceive from this emotional, sensitive center first. And what we can find when we rest into this place is that we are the answer. We have the power. When we attune our own vibration to what inspires us, to what brings out our creative energy, we become solutions and we allow the solutions to spread in pretty incredible ways. So I also wanted to talk about, just give you the kind of dates of when these things are going to happen, these bigger retrograde cycles, and when the planets enter the different gene keys. So in the next part, I'm going to be talking a lot more about the gene key 60, the pathway of realism with the shadow of limitation, and the city of justice, which is very different than what we normally think of when we hear that word justice. But first of all, Jupiter will enter the 60th gene key on April 21st. Pluto goes retrograde 5 days later, April 26th. Saturn goes retrograde May 11th. Jupiter goes retrograde on May 15th. So all of these planets are coming into retrograde around the same time in May. Jupiter goes back into the 61st gene key on June 7th. Jupiter actually goes all the way back into the 54th gene key, which I will talk a little bit about in the next video. And that is the pathway. It's a greed, aspiration, ascension. That's it. So Jupiter enters that on July 24th. Uranus goes retrograde on August 16th. Saturn goes into the 60. Saturn goes back into the 61st on August 26th. Jupiter is direct on September 13th. Saturn is direct on September 27th. Pluto is direct on October 5th. Jupiter goes back into the 61st on October 30th. Saturn goes again into the 60th, which it's in right now, November 4th. And Jupiter goes into the 60th again on December 2nd. So that is the kind of unfolding journey. So we're going to go back through that psychosis again. We may have another phase of that before we really tap into true realism. And we'll have a deeper taste of that when Jupiter enters the end of April. And then we have to kind of relearn the lessons of, this last degree of Capricorn. How do we organize our structures? All of these structures are getting a revamp. or at least we're going to see how they're not working. Maybe they will be all completely revamped in this time, or maybe this is what's planting the seed for people to wake up, to understand fully that, the government, the media, and all of this doesn't have our best interests, and we have to come together to stand for something new. And we do that through being inspired in our own creativity and creating real structures that allow the people to build from the foundation up, right? And also little tidbits. Uranus. I didn't include this, but Uranus will enter the 24th gene key on May 15th, and the 27th on November 28th. So 24 and 27, it's silence, invention, addiction, and selfishness, altruism, selfishness. So those are things that I will explore at greater detail in the next video. I wanted to break it up into two so it's not too overwhelming. Though we're going to see how all of this invention and ending the search for answers can lead us into what is true realism and magic. Thanks for tuning in. Much love and blessings to you. If you want to go deeper into astrology with me, you can contact me for readings. I have special rates right now and would be really happy to help you understand yourself more through your chart and how to face these times with the certain aspects that the planets are making to your own natal chart at the moment. Much love and blessings, and catch you next time.